Hello students, welcome to this session. In the earlier sessions, we had seen various contents and the organization of that particular content. Even in the organization of the content, we had seen various formats also. So, for the multimedia files, we had picked up like the text, we had seen for the bare text what is the extension that needs to be given. For the .doc, that is the formatted text like .doc, .pdf, .ps, likewise we have seen. For the video files we had seen the formats, the file extensions. The audio files we had seen the file extensions. For the animations we had seen the file extensions. So, these are, and also we had seen the criteria of selecting various file extensions or the file types in order to put into the databases. Which kind of file extensions are heavy, which are light, which are suitable for the databases, which are suitable for the online databases. All these techniques we had seen, and we had seen the file organization also. Either it is sequential file organization or whether it should be a random file organization, or else it should be a kind of indexed sequential file organization. Those particular organization techniques also we had seen in order to retrieve the record or in order to store the record on the physical storage devices. So, here an important factor contributing to this particular content organization and the retrieval is the indexing part. In this session, let us see indexing and then the tools those are used for the indexing. Let us start with the information retrieval system. This information retrieval system, or else we can call this one as the IRS. It stands between the user and the database. It is a kind of interface, or else we can call it as a bridge, wherein which it is a system that is capable of storage, retrieval and maintenance of information. One of the first information retrieval system was originated in libraries only for maintaining central repositories of information on resources. So, the efficiency of information services depends largely on the retrieval of the databases. So, whenever the IRS is strong and whenever the IRS was planned in order to retrieve the information that is in the databases efficiently, then we can say that IRS is the efficient IRS. Let us see other than the IRS, or else what kind of other factors needs to be taken care while storing the database in addition to the normal keys and constraints. So, end users are not expected to know or learn about the intricacies involved in precise information retrieval. Some people they may be talking about the keywords, some people they may be talking about the control vocabulary, some people they know only the abstract and they do not know the keywords and they want the information. Some people they do not know the keywords or else other things, but they can have certain statements, the text statement that they can give. With the help of that text statement, one has to retrieve the people who are sitting as the library or like information officer, they have to retrieve the information and have to pass on to him. So, it is the duty of the library and information professors to place in certain tools. Those facilitate easy interfaces to the information repositories. So, what are they that one has to see and select? The more challenging is the task of mapping users' query aptly to the resources by matching the descriptors of the resources against the terms in the queries. So, one should understand first of all what is the requirement of the user, and then only he has to select the relevant database wherein which he can place the query. So, some of the users they may express their needs in terms of those which are not in the computerized access tool of the collection. They may be talking very barely. So, in a human kind of language they may be express that this is the data that I required. However, this is not the string that I need to place to search for the databases. So, there should be some kind of understanding mechanism, and only subject experts can understand the terms that they are that the user is speaking and what kind of information that the user wants. There is an important auxiliary access structure wherein which it can help to speed up the retrieval of records in response to certain search conditions. So, that kind of mechanism is being done using an index factor, that is the index. The index is a structure which provides secondary access path. However, we had placed the records, we had given certain key constraints also like the primary key, the other key constraints. However, this index is a mechanism and it is an auxiliary access wherein which it provides an alternate way of accessing the record without affecting the physical arrangement of the record on the storage. So, if this particular index does not alter the table or alter the database, however, it is just an alternative way to access the record quite fastly. Due to the challenges of retrieval of information in repositories, it is necessary to create pointers or keys to actual information in collection. Here I can take one simple example wherein which a book is an example here, a textbook is an example wherein which the whole text is running to some 400 pages and at the end you find the indexing mechanism wherein which they find out the keywords ordered in alphabetical order and against to that particular keyword or the controlled vocabulary they give the page number. So, it is up to the author or the officer who is looking into that particular textbook collecting all the keywords and maintaining the index. So, indexes are built basically to facilitate efficient search and retrieval. So, whenever we want a word in the textbook, we first of all we do not know where it is. So, we first of all move on to the index page, find out the word alphabetically and then we see the page number or else we see the context where it was discussed. Suppose if it has its place or else in many contents like in many pages, all the page numbers will be given against to that particular keyword. So, it is very easy and efficient way to search and retrieve the information that I want from the textbook. Likewise, here also from the existing databases, this index will help us to retrieve the information very efficiently. It is a process of enlisting important terminology and storing them along with the location information for each information. So, there I had given you the book example. Here also it is nothing but we are enlisting all the important terminology or else you can call those terms as the keywords or else controlled vocabulary, whatever the name that you want to give you can give. So, store them and you have to find out the location where that word or the term was used. So, that particular list maintenance is nothing but the indexing list. So, index is nothing but a pointer to the database. So, it efficiently indexing facilities retrieval, it provides a kind of fast retrieval and this plays the most important role in database creation for information retrieval. So, there is no restriction to provide only one index or many indexes to each and every table. That is up to us how far we have to how far we have to attach the indexes to the keys existing or else to the columns existing, those many things that we can give. There is no restriction that only one index needs to be provided to one table or only two indexes needs to be provided to one table. So, that is up to us to see how many columns are there and in order to retrieve the information fastly from the databases, how many indexes that particular table requires. So, this index file is nothing but it has two values, one is the key field that is the data value and a pointer pointing to that particular data block or else the content block. The data value is a value for some field of the data file and the pointer identifies a record. Here I can select a primary key as the key field again in which the record is being stored. I can access the record using that particular primary key and that primary key I am putting it in the index file. So, the index file consists of here two fields, one is the primary field for primary key field and the address of that particular record. So, that particular pointer also I can store here. So, this particular condition fulfills a index file on that table. So, the data value is a value for some field of the data and the pointer identifies the record, the address. The relevant field of the indexed file is called as the indexed field or the index key. Then let us see, there are two types of index that we can do. One is the primary index and the other is the secondary index. Suppose an index on the primary key field is done, that is called as the primary key index, and if it is done to the other field other than the primary key, then it is called as the secondary index. A primary key is a field that uniquely identifies each record in a database. As we had seen enough number of examples in our previous sessions, like employee table we had created, the student table we had created and seen. Suppose if employee number and student number or else roll number are been taken as the primary keys the tables, then suppose if we are playing a kind of index to those particular primary keys, then that particular key or else that particular index is called as the primary key index. And the secondary key may be the employee name in the employee table or else the student name in the student table. So, those particular other columns other than the primary index will constitute the secondary key index. Then let us see the way to generate these indices. So, you have to generate a list against a key term. So, that is how we have to generate the indices also. The actual database file is organized into records and that contains fields and values entered into it at the time of data entry. But while the indexed file is indexed, the index contains only the terms against which the location is stored, like which are the records contain the term. Wherever there is that particular record appearing, then that particular thing only we have to note down. The complete records are in the database, however, the term related records only needs to be indexed. So, this is somewhat like a book index, whatever we had discussed earlier, maintained at the end of the reference book. So, one of the method that we use is the sequential access. This method is useful when the purpose is akin to browsing, like making a range search, like greater than B and less than D. This is the range that I am specifying. Here, whatever the like index keys that falls between B and D, only those needs to be searched. So, for the kind of a range mechanism we use the sequential access. For the random kind of thing we do not use the sequential access and we follow a second kind of method called as the direct access. Here you can specify a specific field. Index is generated on the value in each field and can be used directly retrieve records searching by those values. Here suppose if I want to search for a specific name, author's name called as Raghunath. So, there I can wherever the name, suppose if the author name is been indexed, then easily we can identify where the Raghunath name is present and corresponding to that particular record, all the records can be retrieved. Corresponding to that index key, all the records can be retrieved. Here the direct access can play a major role in order to retrieve the things faster. Whenever we specify the range, there the sequential access may access them fast. Whenever we are into the specific kind of things, there you can use the direct access indexing method. Then how to index the contents? An index is made up of a set of index entries. Each index entries, as we have seen, two fields were there, and each index entry consists of a term descriptor or a keyword and a locator. So, the value we have to see, the descriptor we have to see, or else the keyword we have to see, and we have to store it in as one of the fields, and the locator, that is the location, the address, that we have to fill it in the corresponding column against the keyword or the descriptor. So, content indexing is an intellectual task and it is best done by the subject experts. By looking into the content directly, we can't make up the terms or else term descriptors. So content expert is the best person to judge which is the best term descriptor of the whole content. So digital library, like digital library, suppose if the content really pertains to digital library and its techniques, how to organize the digital library and other things. So the subject expert easily identify the key term descriptor, so that easily that particular key term descriptor can be placed, and against to that the location can be placed. Then we have content indexing techniques. There are two. One is the assignment indexing and the other is the extracting indexing. Let us see what is assignment indexing. This is nothing but it involves the representation of subject matter by means of terms selected from some form of controlled vocabulary. Here we are collecting some terms from the controlled vocabulary and we are making them as a list. So this is nothing but we are pooling all the keywords into a kind of list in order to represent the content. So what is the process that we are following? The indexer chooses the terms that may be adequate descriptors of the content of the information item and assigns them to the document. So here we are straight away the person is looking into the content and he is choosing some important terms. In order to describe the whole content, here he is choosing some terms and he is pooling and assigning those terms in and making them as a kind of document profile. So to do this, a profile of words or phrases that tend to occur frequently in documents to which a human indexer would assign that term is prepared. So whatever the word, the whole content is running through some 40 to 50 pages. So among the 40 to 50 pages, what are the frequent words? Those are occurring in the content. So those can be used or else those can be profiled as a list. Then extracting indexing is nothing but in the other words or phrases appearing in a text are extracted and used to represent the content of the text as a whole. In automatic extraction, indexing is done based on the word frequency method. So the terms are selected based on some cutoff value or based on a ratio of number of terms against the length of the document, etc. In the assignment indexing, we are searching for the keywords. Here we are using like the frequency of the word that is appearing on the whole text. So that particular ratio or the count that we are taking care and we are making it as some sort of descriptor in order to extract the content using this extraction indexing. So what are the tools that are there? Indexing tools are single words. Index generation can be on different forms of terminology like single word we can use, multi-word terms we can use as the index, line by line also we can take as an indexing value, subfield level also we can take it as a kind of indexing tool. So these particular things whatever I am discussing here will be shown by Dr. Padasarathi whenever he is talking about the Vinesis. So that particular tool whenever he is discussing the tool Vinesis, in that particular tool he talks about how the content will be organized and then what kind of mechanism one needs to give, like the index, like the sequential kind of thing or else the random kind of thing that you have to provide, and what kind of indexing factors or indexing tools that one can apply, and what kind of filters one can use in order to retrieve the things, what kind of index like filtering tools one can use in order to fine tune the content that needs to be retrieved. So those things also he will discuss. So this particular session whatever we are looking into is a kind of precursor session to the software that he is going to describe or he is going to show it to you. Several indexing services are available. So for the whatever the technique that we want to incorporate, either it may be assignment indexing or it may be the second method indexing, the indexing services are being provided. So, several vendors are there in order to provide the indexing services. Suppose if you have the content, there are several vendors who will work upon that particular content and provides you the index. So, several vendors and academic agencies offers the indexing services. These services use the information in databases and provide printed or formatted customized indexes to facilitate the end user to identify and retrieve the resources according to their information needs. So, what they will do is they collect the content and then they see what is the technique, that whatever the technique that we had seen here, extraction, indexing and the assignment indexing, what kind of technique that you want. So, those particular, like depending upon your requirements, they work upon that technique and they provide you either the soft copy or else the printed or the formatted version of the indices. And then issues to be addressed. So, first of all, a format of the index, first of all you have to just depending upon the database and depending upon the IRS you have, the information retrieval system you have to identify the format of the index, in which format you want it, and then whether you want the cross referencing or not, that also needs to be taken care. And then the kind of arrangement that one needs to be done, a kind of hierarchical arrangement you want, a kind of tree kind of structure you want, what kind of arrangement you want. So, that also needs to be specified. Levels of sorting, to which level you want the sorting to be occurred. So, that also need to be spelled out. Time of location of information like page or database or collection identity, etc., that also needs to be given. So, before concluding this particular session, let us see a kind of command that we use in MySQL in order to provide the index. MySQL, you have a command to index a particular column. So, whenever we discuss in the later on sessions about the MySQL, there I had given you the syntax of the command. However, we can discuss it over here also. In order to specify the index, you have a command called as create index command, wherein which you have to give the index name, create index, and you have to provide the index name. On table name, within brackets you have to give the attribute. So, suppose if you want to create an index on student roll number in the student table, how it goes? Create index, both these terms are keywords, then you have to give index name like stu underscore roll number I am giving. On student, within brackets I am giving the roll number. The attribute I had mentioned as the key field or else primary key field in the student table is the roll number. So, I am giving the attribute as roll number over here. So, this is how we create index in using the MySQL RDBMS package. And then Dr. Parth-Sarthi will be discussing you how to provide or else how to create indexes in WinISys. So, that package he is going to illustrate to you, and he also mentions how the indexes are created in that package also. So, you have to see what kind of content is there in our database management system, databases those are available in the libraries, and then what kind of information retrieval system is working upon that particular databases, and how the indexes are working against to that particular database in order to retrieve the information quite efficiently and possibly. Suppose if the indexes are not created properly, not identified and created properly, this may be an add-on burden to the system. So, you have to see and you have to take utmost care while creating the indexes on the tables. And also the keywords, whenever you are identifying the keywords in the content, you should be very careful. Either you may be following the assignment indexing or else you may be following the extracting indexing method. You should be very careful in order to identify the term descriptors, and in order to profile those term descriptors, in order to maintain a kind of index tables, and in order to maintain the pointers to those particular descriptors, you have to take utmost care. Before concluding this session, let us recap once again. One is that we had seen how the content is been organized and what are the essential things that needs one if one has to retrieve the meaningful information, that too very fast. We had seen what is the definition of an index, how indexing is done, what kind of techniques are available, what kind of tools are available for creating the indexes, and what are the fields that we follow in an index table, and then how this particular index command can be given in MySQL. These are the things we had seen, and in the next sessions Dr. Partha will be focusing you on the content organization and how it is done on Winnie ISIS. So, with this I conclude the session. Thank you.